be showing you guys how to play Auld Lang Syne, aka that one New Year's song, on the guitar, so stay tuned if this is something that you'd like to learn. And really quick before we jump into the tutorial, I wanted to take a second to thank today's sponsor, Enya Music. I'll actually be featuring their NEXG Smart Guitar in this tutorial today, so if you like what you see, make sure to visit the link in my description box down below, as well as in this iCard right up here. Alright guys, so I figured out a super beginner-friendly way to play this song, and I'm going to teach it to you, but I have 4 different ways that you can play it, and they'll gradually get a little bit harder, so we're going to go all the way from just simple strumming to a fingerstyle version, as you just heard, so make sure to stay tuned. But first of all, let's go ahead and talk about our guitar. You will need it to be in standard tuning, and I am not going to be using a capo today, but because there's been so many renditions of this song, you could feel free to move your capo wherever you want to match your voice, but I won't be using a capo in this tutorial today. On top of that, I only have 4 chord shapes to show you to play through the whole song, and I'm going to show you 2 different ways to strum it, which are the easier ways, and then 2 different ways to finger pick it, which get a little bit more hard. So you can definitely feel free to pick whichever variation you're most excited to learn. But with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial, and we'll start with the chords. Alright guys, so like I said, you only need to know 4 chords to play through this song, and we're going to start with our G, which looks like this and sounds like this. By the way, if you don't know how to read these chord charts you're seeing on screen, I do cover how to do that in my free beginner series right here on YouTube, and I will link that video right here for those of you who need it. After that, we have our D chord. The next one is our E minor chord. And then the last chord you need to know is C. Those are the only 4 chords you need to know to play through this song. Alright, so as I always say, if you're new to guitar, make sure to pause the video and just take a few minutes to memorize those chord shapes as well as transition back and forth between them. It'll just make learning the rest of this song that much easier. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into those strumming patterns. Alright, so the first strumming pattern I have to show you is the very easiest way to play it, which is just going to be with a single down strum for every chord change. So all you want to do is sing through the song with the lyrics and do a single down strum every time you see those chords above that word. So as an example, it would sound like this. For old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind. For old acquaintance be forgot and the days of old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll drink a cup of kindness yet for the sake of old lang syne. Alright, and that's how you would play through the song with strumming pattern 1. So sorry about my singing, this is actually not in a favorable key for me, and I actually like to play this with finger picking, but I'll show you that later. But that's the easiest way that you could learn to play this song, and if you're in a pinch and you want to play this for New Year's, that's a really great way to go, and it sounds very sentimental. However, there is a slightly harder strumming pattern that you could use that kind of fills in some more of that space, so let's go ahead and talk about strumming pattern 2. Alright guys, so for this second strumming pattern, as you can see, it's not much harder. We're just going to go down, down, up, down, down, up. And the whole thing's going to sound like this. And basically all you want to do is take this strumming pattern and play it 1 time through for each chord change. But before we jump into that, let's go ahead and talk about the rhythm. It's a very straightforward rhythm. We have 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and down, down, up, down, down, up. Alright, so let's go ahead and try it with our G chord just to make sure we got the rhythm down. I'll count us in, I'll do it for a few measures, I just want you to jump in when you think you have it. 1, 2, ready, go. Down, down, up, down, down, up. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. You got it? Down, down, up, down, down, up. Awesome. So once you get that rhythm down, all you have to do is put those chord transitions in there, and like I said, we're playing this pattern through 1 time for each chord. So you'd have G, down, down, up, down, down, up. Switch to D, down, down, up, down, down, up. E minor, down, down, up, down, down, up. C, down, right, let's go ahead and finish out the song. You've got your G chord again, back to D, C, and on G. All right, and it's that simple. So you could apply this strumming pattern for the entire song and it would sound pretty great. So let's go ahead and go through an example of what that would look like. For all the acquaintance we forgot and never brought to mind. For all the acquaintance we forgot and the days of old lang syne. For old lang syne, dear, for old lang syne. We'll drink the cup of kindness yet for the sake of old lang syne. All right, so that's how the entire song would sound with strumming pattern 2. But as I said earlier, the way that I like to play this song is actually with a beautiful finger picking pattern and also kind of like a finger style pattern where you can incorporate the melody into the guitar part. So let's go ahead and zoom in so we can talk about these picking patterns. Speaking of picking, I wanted to thank the other sponsor for today's video, Black Mountain Picks. Those of you who are familiar with my channel might know that I've been using these Black Mountain thumb picks for a while now, and the reason I like them so much is because of this innovative spring design that holds the pick part to the part that wraps around your thumb a lot more tightly, and I've used other ones in the past where they slide around when you get sweaty or they lose grip over time, and I have never had that problem with these Black Mountain picks. They're the perfect solution for any time you're playing guitar and you want to go between picking and strumming with ease, and so this is a perfect example of that. In this tutorial, I'm showing you picking and strumming, and this thumb pick is perfect to transition between both of those. On top of that, he just launched his new light gauge line, which is perfect for people like me who like to play with thin picks. Of course, he also has plenty of other gauges you can try out in a convenient trial pack, so I'll make sure to link all of this down below. So if you're interested in trying one of these Black Mountain thumb picks for yourself, I'll make sure to have that link down below as well as in this iCard right up here. All right guys, so I've zoomed in a little to take a closer look at this picking pattern, but before we begin, I do want to mention that I do like to number my strings. So the low E is 6 and it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 all the way to the high E. In my head, it just makes more sense to number them whenever I'm teaching, so hopefully it does in your head as well. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this picking pattern. So what I want you to do is we're going to use our thumb to cover the bass note in each chord, and then we're going to use our pointer, middle, and ring finger to cover these bottom 3 strings, G, B, E. And now when we're playing through this, your thumb is going to change strings based on the bass note that we're playing for that chord, but these 3 fingers will always stay on these bottom 3 strings, okay? And so if we look at the pattern for each of these chords, they're all gonna follow the same pattern. We'll start with our G chord. What I want you to do is start with your bass note 6 on your thumb. Then you're gonna take your pointer finger on 3, your middle finger on 2, go back to your pointer finger, then your ring finger is going to cover that high E, pointer, middle, pointer. All right, that's the whole pattern. So if we're talking about fingers, it would be thumb, pointer, middle, pointer, ring, pointer, middle, pointer. So if we're talking about it with numbers, it would be 6, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3. So that's the whole pattern for G. And like I said, the other chords are going to follow suit. So with our D chord, all you want to do is move your thumb to that 4th D string, since that's our bass note, but the rest of the pattern is going to be the same. So for D, we have 4, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3. All right, remember these finger patterns are the same. All you're doing is moving your thumb. So you have thumb, pointer, middle, pointer, ring, pointer, middle, pointer. All right, so hopefully you're starting to get the hang of the pattern now. So with our E minor chord, this is going to look like your G. Your thumb's going to go back to that 6th low E string. 6, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3. And I get this comment a lot. Yes, if you're playing the E minor and you're picking, you don't have to hold down your left hand. You could do that without fretting any chord shapes. All right, and then the last chord chord we have is our C chord. For this, your thumb's gonna move to this 5th A string. All right, but the rest of the pattern's the same. So we have 5, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3. So now that we've gone over the fingerings for each of these chords, all you want to do is practice, using your right hand to finger pick these strings if that's something that's new to you. But once you get the hang of the pattern down, you would just string these together. So we have G, D, E minor, C. Let's go ahead and finish out this little verse. We have G, so basically the hardest part of this picking pattern is just going to be getting that finger coordination down on how to pick the pattern. But once you have it, the actual song is pretty easy to play because your right hand is following the same pattern. So speeding it up and pairing it with singing, the whole song would sound like this. For old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to that's how you could play through the whole song with picking pattern 1. All right guys, and finally we've made it to my favorite way to play this song, which is kind of a finger style version. So basically I came up with a tab for you to play the melody of this song that uses mostly open strings, so it'll be super beginner friendly for anyone who's new to fingerstyle. So you can see it here on screen. I wanted to first take you through this tab one note at a time before I show you how to add in some of those chord shapes to make it sound a little more full. So basically, if you don't know how to read tabs, then make sure to visit my video right here where I teach you how to do that in more detail. But basically, we're going to utilize mostly open strings to play through this song. So starting on our D string, you just want to pick that open, then go next door and pick that G string open. And then here on the next note, I would recommend using your pinky to cover that 4. And that'll make sense in a second when we put all of this together. So we have open, open, pinky, then you go back to open, then open B. Then here for the D chord, I would go ahead and use your pointer finger to cover the 2nd fret of the G string. Then you go open, then you put it back on. Then you go next door, open B. Then we're here on this next little section. You're going to take your pointer finger off and we're going to play this G string twice. Then go next door to open B. Then for this 3rd fret, I would recommend using your ring finger and then open E. All right, so that's the first little line there. So you can see we're using a lot of those open strings, so it's going to be a lot easier for those of you who are new to reading tabs. Let's go ahead and go into the next line. So starting here, we're going to have our open E string. Then again, I'd recommend your 3rd finger for that 3rd fret. Then open B twice. Then we have our open G. Then again, for this 2nd fret, I would use your pointer finger again. Take it off, put it back on. Then we have our open B next door. All right. Then you take off your pointer finger, play this open. And then I would recommend using your middle finger for the second fret of that D string. Open, and then open. All right? So that second line goes like this. So the rest of the tab is pretty similar, but let's go ahead and go into the third little line here. Again, you're starting on your open high E, ring finger for this third fret of the B string, open, next door, then use your pointer finger, all right, then again. So here's where it changes a little bit. You're gonna put your ring finger back on, and then you have your open E string. All right, so that whole line sounds like this. All right, great, we're almost done. The last line is gonna be the same as the second line. So to finish it out, it would sound like this. So just make sure to pause and go through this tab slowly. Like I said, most of it is just open string, so it should be fairly simple. So basically, I wanted you to practice doing this with just the melody line, because then when you add in some of these little strums for the chords, it'll be not as hard, especially if you're using the fingers that I suggested for those fretted notes. So the last little step to playing this kind of quote unquote finger style would be wherever I'm notating on screen, you'll see like a little rectangle. That's where we're gonna strum an entire chord, okay? But all the while, we're still gonna be playing this melody line. So for example, in the first line, you're still starting on that open D string, but now instead of just playing that open G string, we're gonna actually strum our entire G chord. Okay? So you can hear how it kind of just fills in that space and makes it sound a lot more full. So then what you would do is after you strum that G chord, you would just go straight into continuing the rest of that pattern. Okay? And so this is why I suggested using your pinky here for this first fretted note. It's just because when you have your G chord down, your pinky is kind of available to cover that note. All right? So the first little line sounds like this. Then here on this next little rectangle, you want to strum your entire D chord. All right, but then again, just continue with that melody line. Then here, the next one is our E minor. Continue. Then here we're going to strum our C chord. So that first line with those chords in the melody line sounds like this. Nice. So in our next line, same thing, you're gonna start with that open E. Then here, when you play this next G chord in this rectangle, I think it would be better if you do that 4-finger G where your ring finger is down. That way you can cover that melody note. All right? Then here we have D. Then we have C. Then G. So that whole line sounds like this. Nice. So let's go ahead and finish out this song. The next line here, we're starting with our open E, and then we're 4-finger G again. Then we have our D chord. here we're gonna go back to that open E, 4-finger G again, C, right? Then again, like I said earlier, this last line is just like the second one. G with the 4 fingers, D, C chord, and on G. All right, nice. And that is the entire way to play this fingerstyle, so you don't have to sing the melody. You could play it on your guitar instead. Like I said, it should be pretty beginner friendly for those of you who are new to fingerstyle or new to picking. But yeah, that is my favorite way to play this song, and I would totally recommend it if you are someone who's new to finger picking or fingerstyle guitar. Congratulations! Not only are you at the end of this video, but it is getting really close to New Year's. I can't believe it, but I hope that this video helped you learn how to play this Auld Lang Syne song. It's one of those classics that everybody knows around this time of year, so hopefully you had fun learning it with me. If you did, make sure to give me a thumbs up down below, as well as subscribe to my channel. That way you never miss out on any other new guitar tutorials. Another thank you goes out to Enya Music and Black Mountain Picks for sponsoring today's video, as well as a special shout out to my top patrons over on my Patreon page. I'll make sure to list all of their names on screen right now. And of course, a huge thank you to all of my patrons for supporting my channel and making videos just like this one possible. You guys are awesome. Here are my social media sites in case you'd like to follow me on any of those. That's just where I do fun things like behind the scenes looks at things I'm working on. I'll poll you guys on what you want to learn next, and I'll even do giveaways on there a few times a year, so make sure to check it out. But with that being said, I think that ends the video. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that it helped, and Happy New Year. Bye!